this is Robin McAuley. You are tuned in and listening to Backstage Access, and this, as you know, is where the real show begins.
Hey, this is Chris with Backstage Access, and we are here today with none other than Robin McAuley to tell us all about his brand new band, Black Swan.
But let me ask you, how are you feeling after, your health scare earlier this year?
I want to tell you, Chris, that I feel fantastic, and I won't bore you with the details, but suffice to say that I stay pretty healthy. That's kind of my daily regimen. And I was feeling absolutely 100% on the morning of January 5th. I was actually, the whole family had been out to church and came home. We had breakfast, and I was about an hour before leaving. Actually, because we live in LA, we were driving back into Las Vegas, because I do the Las Vegas show there 5 nights a week. And I was getting prepped to fly out of Vegas to Florida for the 70,000 tons of metal cruise with Michael Schenkerfest.
Right.
And we were scheduled to leave here, I don't know, about 3 p.m. in the afternoon or something. And come 2 o'clock, I started complaining that it was really, really cold. And my wife said, "No, it isn't. It's about 80 degrees out there." I'm like, "No, it's serious. It's like really, really cold." And then she goes, I'll pick you something up at the pharmacy because we have a long way to drive and I don't want you blah, 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 blah. So off she goes with my son, Casey, who also sings in the Black Swan record, by the way.
Okay.
And he's taking his EMT class right now, so he's decked up in all his EMT stuff. And they hit the pharmacy, and I was here with my other son. And in a 20-minute window, Chris, I went into total shock. I was so cold. I couldn't control my bodily movements. Everything just went into shock. I started shaking. I thought I was having a seizure or something.
Scary.
I don't get seizures. And he got scared. I wasn't able to speak properly. And he called 911. My wife and son Casey comes back within 20 minutes, and there's a gurney in my front hallway. And they're whipping me out of here to the ER. And within a few hours in the ER, I was in intensive care with a 12-hour critical window. That's what they told me anyway afterwards. And the long story endless is that I guess you can be, at least feel real healthy. I had no symptoms, no pre-warning. And then you can just hit rock bottom. And it appears from the diagnosis that I had somehow contracted the E. coli virus that became a bladder infection or a UTI infection and got into my bloodstream as sepsis and started to poison my blood and was gradually taking me out until this amazing team of medical doctors and nurses just started pumping every which antibiotic into my system. It took them till the Wednesday to actually nail down the real bacteria, which was sepsis, and then they were able to treat it with the appropriate antibiotic. And as soon as I was on a broad spectrum, I had an IV hanging out of me. I had a temperature of almost on 5, which was not pretty. And there's a couple of funny parts to the story because the day before, on the Saturday, I thought, let's get out onto the high seas, and maybe I should put some blue in my hair, right? None of this is a true story, right? But, you know about guys, they kind of run when things get a little hot.
Right.
So I'm in the hospital, right, on those beautiful white sheets and pillowcases, and I'm having all of these doctors and what have you come in and talk very serious stuff to me, and I'm like belligerent. I'm like, I really wasn't myself till maybe Tuesday because they were just killing me, trying to kill this thing.
Right, understandable.
My wife was in there, and one of the nurses, I think Tuesday, said, Mr. McAuley, the doctors are having all of these serious conversations with you, and you're trying to be as corpus mentum as you can. Let me show you something. So she gets a mirror and she shows it to me. I look like Avatar.
Oh my!
I look like an avatar because I had these great blue tie-dye pillowcases. All the sheets were tie-dye at 104.9 or something.
Yeah, you're sweating.
Whatever it was, all of this color is just running down my face, down the back of my neck. I absolutely destroyed every white pillowcase and sheet that was in the damn place. And it was stuck to my face. I looked like an avatar. It was all over my ears, my forehead, down the side of my face. And they're getting all of these whiteys, alcoholic, trying to get this stuff off me. And so that's the fun side of it, But now I feel terrific.
Well, that's good.
I feel great.
I'm glad that you're.
Story anyway. So.
I'm glad that you're doing well, and I know things like that can be scary. So we're glad that you're back and rocking with us now.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Dead man walking, as they say.
So let's talk about Black Swan. How the heck did the idea for this first come about? Did you guys know each other, or how did this kind of transpire?
Yeah, I've known Jeff for a really, really long time. Jeff was best man at my wedding, actually, 27 years ago.
Okay.
And he also played bass together. He was also on the last McAuley Schenker studio record with James Kotak, Scorpions.
Okay.
And then he also did an unplugged tour with McAuley Schenker. So that is how I met Jeff. And he called me about a year ago, said that Serafino at Frontiers Records wanted him to, because he did a lot of work for Frontiers, and wanted him to put a project together. And then Jeff will tell the story that he immediately thought about Reb, because Reb had worked with him on a Dawkins record. And Reb says, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then he called me and says, hey, you want to write some songs for Prestige? And I went, of course I do. And we got together at Jeff's studio, which is about 30 minutes from me, which is really, really close. And we started just chatting about it and talking. I had met Reb one time backstage when I was singing with Survivor for about 6 years. And that was the only time I'd actually met Reb in person. Of course, I know his great playing and writing with Winger and Whitesnake. But we'd never worked together. And they came up with some music, sent it to me. I work in Vegas, so I'm hardly ever home in LA. And he lives in Pittsburgh, for God's sake. And he's usually out with Whitesnake or Winger. And of course, Jeff is forever on the road with Foreigner.
Right.
So to find a block of time where we could actually be together was nigh on impossible. But they sent me some music, and I came back, and Reb was there with Jeff. And I started singing a melody, an idea for the very first piece of music that they put together. And that turned out to be a big disaster. And Reb goes, oh, dude, this sounds great. He goes, but, this is the first time we've done this project together, and I'm not sure the title Big Disaster is exactly the way we should be thinking. And lo and behold, it becomes the second release of the what will be the release of Shake the World. Shake the World came out as the first single, and then they released Big Disaster right at the time when I came out of hospital. I think people were thinking it was a little ironic, and maybe some kind of a publicity stunt,
Great song though.
Thank you. The reaction and the comments have been phenomenal.
Yeah, the whole album. It's you get a lot of projects. People from different bands get together and they do these things. And Frontiers is phenomenal at putting together the right groups of people at the right time, it seems, to come up with these really terrific ideas. But this album, it's killer from start to finish. I just enjoyed it so much. It's really excellent.
Thank you.
And
the only specific that they had was, let's have a classic rock record. And we didn't really talk too much about it, Jeff and Reb and myself. Jeff, of course, didn't want to play bass on the record. He just wanted to take the role as producer and engineer. And Reb and I had other ideas about that, which we now know how that transpired.
Right.
Right. And yeah, they wanted a classic rock record, and we wanted a record that we would make. Obviously, classic rock, but we just didn't really put too much thought into let's do a song like this or a song like that. We just opened the gates and let it fly, and it turned out to be a powerhouse and sounds fresh and powerful. And I think people are surprised, actually, the comments that we've had so far, that they didn't expect it to be as heavy as it is in places, and yet we can turn around and give them that big old power ballad, you know.
It definitely, I mean, you can hear just bits and pieces of all of you throughout the songs, and it does. You start one song and you think it's going to go one way, and then like, nope, here it goes. Here comes Reb, and he's going to light it up for a while in the middle.
Right? Yeah, I'm very happy with it. It's something I'm really proud. It's the best thing I've ever done, in my personal opinion. Best I've ever sounded vocally.
Yeah, it is. It's an outstanding vocal performance on everything, and I know that you're so busy, you know, with other things. So, did you take any kind of special approach to this record or preparation vocally that was different?
You know, I'm so used to with raiding the rock vault in Vegas. There's so much expected. You have to be a chameleon when it comes to singing because we're covering everybody else's material.
Right.
So you have to become somebody different night after night until you find your place in that particular show that we do. And then, you know, I end up going out with Schenkerfest and I have to be somebody else. So you literally are this sort of vocal chameleon because, you know, what I do at Raiding the Rock Falls is certainly not going to suit Michael Schenkerfest.
Right.
So you have to know your limitations as a singer and know who you are and be confident enough to go, yeah, this song requires this. When it came to Black Swan, I was able to be me. That was the cool part. I was able to just write the lyrics and the melodies to most of this stuff and come to Jeff and we would do our pre-production, change whatever we felt needed to be changed for the good of the song. Not for me or anything, but for the good of the song and the overall sound. And that was the easy part because we've known each other so much and for so long that we never questioned any. It was just like somebody would make a suggestion, you know, great idea, just let's do it, and that's how easy it was. And I was able to be myself, and nothing's over processed. Everything that we do, we'll be able to do live. And Jeff sitting as the engineer / producer, he goes, this is the guy we need to be listening to. That's what I wanted to hear. And he goes, people need to hear that, who you really are, not some process stuff and whatever. And it's the best thing I've ever done. I love it. And thank him for that, too.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It was overwhelming because so used to hearing you, playing in this role or that role, like you said, and now this is you. And it's fantastic. And I hope we get to hear more Black Swan down the road. And I know it's difficult because you all have crazy schedules, but you mentioned that, you could do all this live. So is there any possibility that maybe you'll get together, not for maybe a whole tour necessarily, but a few shows here or there?
I hope so. I hope yes is the answer to that question. And in actual fact, last night Jeff and I were doing an interview, and I don't know where he is. He's somewhere in the Midwest, I think. I can't remember where he is. But we were tied into an interview last night, and he actually revealed that come September, Foreigner will be tapering back the rest of the year. And I'm sure he'll be doing other stuff, but there's a window of opportunity right there. And now I just have to see what Reb and Matt and myself will be doing. And I do know that, as you're probably aware of, Frontiers is famous for the Frontiers festivals, and I think they kind of fall around that time of year. I'm not sure, but I think we'll be looking at that. I've already had a bunch of emails coming in from different promoters, both here and in Europe, all dying to run with the band and go, we would love this. Oh God, I think next Friday. I think come next Friday, you know, when the actual album drops,
Right.
Valentine's Day, and we see what the overall reaction is going to be to the whole record, because right now they've just heard 2 tracks.
It's going to be awesome, I'll tell you. Everybody's going to love it.
There's a beautiful song coming on Valentine's Day, so we're not going to disappoint with that one. So I hope, Chris, that the reaction will be positive, and it'll put us into a position where, you know, some decisions will have to be made to go live, and hopefully not too long. You know, the longer you wait, you know, the river dries up, as they say.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed, because that's something we would love to. We would love to see that. And now, before I let you go, I did want to just ask you real quick about an update on Raiding the Rock Vault. You're still out there doing 5 shows a week. I know the lineup does change here and there for who's on board, but you're full time with that still right now?
I've been there right from the beginning, right through pre-production, rehearsals, everything. I've been there now. I'm going into my 7th year.
Wow, okay.
We have amassed almost 1,500 shows under our belt. And yes, you're absolutely correct. It is a revolving door now because we all tour at different times. We moved from the Hard Rock at the end of the year, end of 2019, simply because the Hard Rock is no longer.
Right.
It was bought by Richard Branson. It will now become Virgin Hotels Las Vegas. Sometime around November is the projected timeline to get that finished, and I'm hearing from people who said they saw the new plans that it will be like no other hotel.
I'm sure.
Branson builds rockets, for God's sake. Can you imagine what the hotels would look like? It would be just phenomenal. I hear it's just incredible. They've asked that we keep the bed warm for them, and that we come back when it's ready. We just moved into the Rio across the strip, so that's where we are. We're at a club called 172 at the Rio Hotel and Casino. And I just saw with our producer, Harry Cowell, this morning announced that they just announced Raiding the Rock Vault Latin. Raiding the Latin Vault, I should say, excuse me. So now they're going to turn out. They do already have a country show.
Okay.
Raiding the Country Vault. Now they've just added Raiding the Latin Vault. That's all of that will be put into place, and they start grabbing artists to bring that to the front, to the live stage. So it's never a dull moment.
Absolutely.
Going on. I will not be one of the Latin dancers. Just so
Now that's something I would maybe have to make a trip to Vegas to see. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to fill us in on what's going on with Black Swan. The record just totally blew me away. I think everybody's going to love it, and I hope that you guys get the chance to do at least a few shows with this lineup and these songs, because I think it's just going to go over great.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure. I'm so happy you called. Thank you.
And I'm glad that you're feeling better.